friends, and welcome. If you're new here, I'm Haley. I create nature-inspired videos and magical recipes. Today, I'm taking you along with me to create a whimsical forest fairy picnic. I'm going to be sharing recipes, styling tips, and ideas for creating your own enchanted woodland-themed picnic. Whenever I'm planning a picnic, I like to make as much food as I can in advance, so most of these recipes can be prepped ahead of time and easily packed in a picnic basket or bag. To fit the forest fairy theme, I also wanted to create a menu of colorful, woodland-inspired foods and drinks. As always, you can find all of the recipes from this video on my blog, and I will leave the links to each in the description. I'm going to start by making some rainbow collard wraps. These are such a cute forest fairy themed food. The collard leaves make them look so whimsical and fun, and they're filled with a rainbow of veggies for a magical pop of color. I'm starting by making a batch of beet hummus. To a food processor, I'm adding a can of chickpeas that have been rinsed and drained, 1 can of sliced beets, 1/3 cup of tahini, 1/2 cup of fresh lemon juice, 2 cloves of garlic, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm blending everything together, and then as the food processor is running, I'm going to stream in about 1/4 cup of olive oil. And if the hummus is still a little thicker than you'd prefer, feel free to add 1 or 2 tablespoons of cold water here. Next, I'm chopping up some veggies like bell peppers and cucumbers for the collard wraps. To assemble the wraps, I'm cutting off the long end of the stem from a collard leaf, and then I'm turning the leaf over and using my knife to carefully shave down the thick part of the stem. This is going to make it much easier to roll up and eat. Next, I'm spreading some of our beet hummus onto the wrap, along with some shredded carrots, shredded red cabbage, cucumbers, sliced bell peppers, and some herbs and microgreens. Then I'm folding in the sides and carefully rolling up the collard wrap like a burrito. I'm going to pack these up in a food storage container, and then at the picnic, I'm slicing them in half before serving. This step is completely optional, but I think it makes them a little easier to eat, and I love seeing the rainbow of colors inside. This magical rainbow veggie platter with yogurt herb dip is always a favorite whenever I make it for friends and family. The dip is inspired by green goddess dressing, so it's creamy, but also very fresh and flavorful, and we have so much amazing produce in season this time of year where I live, so I was able to find a rainbow of different vegetables for the platter. But you can of course use any veggies you like for this recipe. I find that just about every vegetable tastes delicious with this yogurt herb dip. To make the dip, I'm starting by chopping up about 2 cups of fresh herbs. You can use any soft herbs you like here, but I'm using a combination of parsley, basil, cilantro, and dill. I'm adding the chopped herbs to a food processor and giving them a quick blend just to chop them up a bit finer. Next, I'm adding 2 cups of whole milk Greek yogurt, and feel free to use a plant-based yogurt here if you like for a vegan version. Then I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, a clove of garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, a teaspoon of olive oil, and a dash of hot sauce. The hot sauce is completely optional, but it adds a little kick to the dip that I really love. I'm blending everything together in the food processor. And then I'm adding the dip to an airtight jar and placing it in the fridge for at least a few hours to thicken. Then I'm chopping up some veggies to pack for the picnic. Something I wanted to mention is that if you want to make this recipe even more easy to eat on the go, you can just scoop a little bit of the dip into the bottom of a jar and then add carrot, cucumber, and celery sticks into the jar like this, and then you can attach the lid, and this makes a super easy, portable, on-the-go snack in case you don't want to make a full veggie board. When it's time to eat, I'm assembling the board by placing some of the dip in the center and arranging the veggies into a rainbow around the dip. I'm garnishing the board with some edible flowers, and then it's ready to enjoy. Next, I'm making these delicious forest fairy crostini bites made from toasted baguette slices, a creamy goat cheese spread, and assorted fruits and herbs. I love recipes like this where everything starts with the same base, but different toppings can create a variety of flavor combinations. To make the crostini, I'm cutting a baguette into thin slices and then arranging the bread on a parchment-lined baking tray in an even layer. Then I'm lightly brushing each baguette slice with olive oil. I'm putting this into the oven to bake at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes or until the bread is lightly golden brown. In the meantime, I'm making the goat cheese spread. To a medium bowl, I'm adding 11 ounces of goat cheese, 4 ounces of cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, and 1 teaspoon of honey. I'm using a fork to mix everything together, and then scooping the cheese spread into a small glass container. When it's time to pack up the picnic, I'm adding the goat cheese spread and the cooled baguette slices to a large food storage container and sealing it with a lid. Then, to a separate container, I'm adding some sliced strawberries, blackberries, thyme, dill, and mint, and halved cherry tomatoes, and packing everything away in my basket. At the picnic, I'm assembling the crostini by spreading the goat cheese mixture onto each of the baguette slices. For the blackberry and thyme crostini, I'm topping the bread with some fresh thyme, a few microgreens, and a blackberry. I'm adding a mint leaf and some strawberry slices for the strawberry and mint crostini. And lastly, I'm adding some microgreens, dill, and a halved cherry tomato for the tomato and dill bites. I absolutely love the sweet and savory flavor combinations of these crostini, and they look so pretty and elegant, but they're so easy to prep in advance and assemble at a picnic. These woodland berry fruit tarts are a big favorite among my friends and family. They're made with a delicious almond flour crust and creamy filling, and I love how whimsical they look. I decorated these tarts with crushed pistachios and mint sprigs to recreate the look of the forest floor, and strawberries, blackberries, and edible flowers to look like woodland berries. The recipe on my blog makes 1 large tart, but I decided to double it for this picnic to make 5 6-inch mini tarts, so all of the measurements I'm sharing in this video have been doubled. To make the crust, I'm adding 4 cups of almond flour, half a cup of granulated sugar, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to a medium bowl, and stirring to combine. Then I'm adding 2/3 of a cup of melted butter and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and stirring until crumbly. Then I'm using the back of a measuring cup to press the crust into an even layer on the bottom and sides of each tart pan. I'm placing the tart shells onto a baking tray and baking them at 350 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes until lightly golden brown. To make the filling, I'm combining 16 ounces of room temperature mascarpone cheese, 16 ounces of room temperature cream cheese, half a cup of powdered sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and using a hand mixer to beat the ingredients until light and fluffy. Then I'm using a gallon bag to pipe the filling into the cooled shells. I'm smoothing the tops with the back of a spoon and sprinkling each tart with an even layer of crushed pistachios. I'm topping the tarts with some berries and a few sprigs of mint and edible flowers for garnish. I like to pack these tarts by placing them on a baking dish in an even layer and then covering the dish with some parchment or plastic wrap. This herb and berry infused sparkling water is such an easy, picnic-friendly drink. First, I'm adding some sliced strawberries to a couple of jars, as well as a few blackberries, and a couple sprigs each of rosemary and thyme. I'm attaching the lids to the jars and packing everything up for the picnic. I'm bringing a bottle of sparkling water for the drinks, but you can definitely use some champagne or other sparkling wine instead of water if you'd like. I'm also packing up some little jars of fruit to enjoy at the picnic. Whenever I'm setting up a picnic, I like to layer a few blankets on the ground to create a larger area to sit. I also recently got a low folding table specifically for picnics. This is completely optional, of course, but I've really been enjoying using it. I find that it makes it a bit more comfortable to sit and have an elevated, flat surface to eat from. To create a natural woodland look, I picked up some local flowers from the grocery store, and I'm just arranging different varieties together in vases to look more like wildflowers. I'm also leaving some extra flowers peeking out of a picnic basket. To set up the picnic, I'm placing some natural wood boards and stands on the table, and then arranging some of the food on top of the extra collard leaves for some whimsy and fantasy. Once the food is set up, it's time to start our picnic. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video and that it gave you some inspiration to create a forest fairy picnic of your own. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.